start stream and bring up Max. Okay, I hope it's working, and I'm gonna also load Unity in the background. When you do start Unity, it's gonna ask you to make a Unity account. Make sure that you make one that is sensible, something that you is easy to remember. Um, because once, yeah, it's just gonna be difficult if you don't. There's also, I'm not 100% familiar with everything, but there is so if we go projects, you can save to the cloud, like it gives you cloud storage. I'm not 100%. I've never really messed around with this. I usually just save it on disk. Actually, can someone reply to me if they can hear me coming through YouTube or not?
Yeah, yeah, it's
You
working.
can. All right, brilliant. So I'm gonna go. I'm mute myself on YouTube. Sorry, I'm gonna mute myself on Discord, and then so you guys can hear me through YouTube. Okay. Um, okay. So mute. All right. So what I'm gonna be doing first is just load up my Unity. So it's gonna ask. I'm gonna say I want my project to be on this, but you can say save it to the cloud. That way you can jump from any machine to any machine. But I'm not 100% sure how that works. I'll do some experiments and get back to you with that. So for beginning, I'm gonna save it on disk. I'm gonna say I want new project. We're gonna name this project asset um, asset test. Locations, I'm gonna always save mine in, because I'm working in the school, I'm in the college right now, I'm gonna save it to the 3D objects on this PC. And then I've already got a folder called Unity. Select folder, and I want it to be a template, 3D template, and the other things don't matter. So I'm gonna create a project, and then it's gonna load up the initial scene for me. While that's loading up in the background, what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna go file, hold on, file, okay, come on, file, open, and then I'm gonna open the recent, so where we left off in the last lesson with this. So we left off with this where I made this texture. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna check my unit setup here. So my unit setup, so I want this to be in centimeters. I don't know why it's in meters. Let's go okay. And then to fix this on my export, what I'm going to be doing is they're both the same, there's different textures. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go over to the utilities function, and then I'm going to go to reset xform, and then select reset selected. And if you can't see reset xform on your 3ds Max, you can go to more, and then in this list it's going to be there, and then you press OK to attach it to your list, like here. So I've selected a reset xform, and then in my modifier section you can see that it says xform on my editable poly. And let's just robot. Okay, so what I'm gonna also do is, because my hierarchy is my axis is in the center of my model, I want it to be on the floor. So I'm gonna say effect pivot, and then I'm gonna use the Z axis and then put that to 0 0. So that's directly on the floor in accordance to this world. Make sure I untick effect pivot, and with this selected, so it's selected there, I'm gonna go file, export selected, and then I'm going to go to my folder. So actually, sorry, I'm jumping ahead. I need to set some stuff up before I do that. Okay, so let's go to Unity. So in Unity we have our main control panel, we have our scene, what's in our scene, we have the visuals of our scene, we have a bunch of operators and inspectors on the right hand side, and then our assets folder. Yeah, and it's quite simple, but it can get technical later. So first thing I'm gonna do is, you can see we've got assets and scene. So assets is our main folder that we initially saved when we made our folders, when we open a program. I'm gonna right click in empty space in my asset drawer, project drawer, and go to create folder, and we're gonna call this folder objects. I'm gonna make a few more folders. I'm gonna call this folder materials, and then I'm gonna make another folder and call this folder scripts. Sorry. Okay, so we've got a bunch of folders here now. Yep. So I'm gonna go back to my Macs, and with my model selected, I'm gonna go to File, Export selected, and then I'm going to let's go to 3D objects, because that's where I'll put it. Unity, asset test, asset folder, and then objects, and then I'm gonna save it here and call it robot. I'm gonna press save. We don't really need to mess with much. I'm just gonna make sure tick to tick embed media, even though there's nothing on it, and press OK. That should be done. We should be done with Max for now. We're gonna leave that open though in the background. And then if I go to objects now, you can see that my robot is in the folder where we saved it. Now, because sizes differ in different programs, what I'm gonna also do is I'm gonna put a little object in here from the game scene to make sure it's the right size. So I'm gonna go to game object, 3D objects, and cube, and the cube has appeared in the center of our scene. Now if I click on the inspector, it was on services for some reason, you can see we have a bunch of information, and our cube is in the X, Y, and Z at 0, 0, 0, and the scale is 1, so we're going to leave it there. Yep. To move around in this scene is similar to 3ds Max. Middle mouse button down will pan, and rolling it will zoom in, and then Alt and left click will rotate around. Yep. So it's nice and straightforward, just like Max. Alright, so what I'm gonna do now is, so if you press this little arrow next to your object, you can see that it has, oh, it's just one simple thing because I collapsed everything, that's fine, and it's got no materials. So I'm just gonna drag and drop this, and you can see that it's kind of, it can snap around the box. So I'm gonna stick it on top of the box here, and zoom in. Yep, so it's the correct size. If you if you did not do it properly, then what will happen is your sizes will be of 100 of this. It will blow up to 100 of the scale. So you'd have to put it to 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. But instead of changing it, it's just best to get the scales correctly from 3ds Max, and that's why we put on the X form to reset everything. Okay, so we've got our object within our scene now, our one model, and here you can see we've already, so like here we've got a light and there's a camera over here, so you can see main camera, robot, that's our model, directional light, and then the cube. Yep, so that's everything within the scene. It's going to be in our sample scene here. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to sort out the materials. So if we go to the materials folder, I'm gonna right click and go create, and go down to materials. So that's right click, create materials. So I've clicked the material, and we're gonna call this robot as well, because this is gonna be our robot material, and this is the material that we're gonna drop onto the robot. But first we have to align our texture, our unwrapped texture, to the material. Actually, so let's make two, so because I've got two different materials, robot alt, so alternate material. I think, and if you right click, you can rename. Good workflows to underline everything so there are no gaps. I remember hearing that at some point somewhere. And then the next thing I want to do is sort out my tip materials in this folder. So I'm just going to go to the folder because I've got them saved in different places. So let me open my two folders. And then we are going to go to 3D objects, Unity here, assets, and then materials. Alright, so in here is where we're going to drop our file. So the first one I'm going to drop is this one. So this is the one we made last time, the blue. You can copy, yeah, so you can copy or just drag it in. And then the one I made earlier, I think was this one. So let's copy and paste that in. Alright, so we've got both materials in, so it will automatically load up in there. So you can see we have our two materials, and we've got our two textures and our two materials. So what I'm going to do is select the first one, material, and then over in here, so anytime you select something, just like in Max, you get on the right hand side, you get its options, yeah. And in here it says this is a standard material. I'm not 100% familiar with everything that's going on here, but you can change the material, standard and roughness setup, or standard and specular setup, or other types of shaders, yeah. So this is the shader type. So I'm gonna change mine to a specular setup or whatever. I don't think it really matters because we ain't gonna mess around with that too much at the beginning. The second thing I'm gonna do is where it says albedo. Basically, this is our texture, our diffuse layer, yeah. So I'm gonna click this little black spot right here. Hope you can see it. So it's not the option, it's not the window, it's the little dot next to it. And then it's gonna bring up this little pop-up menu here. And then I'm gonna select my material, and then I can cut that off. And now our material is now featured. So here you go. Let me make that out. Our material is now featured here, yeah, on this sphere that you can see, yeah. And then you can drop in specular maps, normal maps, height maps, and everything like that. But like I said, we'll get into that at a later date. And let me drop in the alt. So just leave that as standard actually. And then I'm going to select this one, just cut it off, and now materials on it. Sorry. Alright. And it's as simple as, so this material now can be dropped on anything in the scene. So you can see I can drop it on the cube, which I don't want, or drop it onto my model, which is my robot. So our robot is fully textured within the scene now. Yep, nice and simple. Okay, let's go back to my objects and drop another robot in. Let's put that there. Back to materials, and then I can drag and drop that there. Let's scale this to 1. Okay, so I was just scaling up the box, the cube there that we have. Okay, so the next stage, or the next or final stage that we want to do is work with our scripts to get a character in order to walk around. Because right now, if we just press play and it plays, we can't move around or do anything within the scene. Yeah, so we have to sort that out. And if I press play again, it will jump back to edit mode. So what I'm gonna do is, if I go to the folder, I've given you guys two scripts. One is a character control script I created a long time ago, so I forgot how to even work it properly. The next one is a cam mouse look. So this is to use the mouse to look around the scene. Yeah. Alright, so I'm gonna download both of them. So they're downloaded now. And what I'm gonna do is, so this is my downloads folder, this materials. So if we go back out to assets and go to the script folder, and then I've got my two scripts in my download area. I'm just gonna copy and paste that in. So if we go to scripts now, you can see that we've got two scripts within our scenes. Yeah. Alright, in order to set this up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to game objects, just like where we made the cube. I'm going to go to 3D objects, and then I'm going to put in a capsule. Okay, so the capsule is what we're going to be using as our character, our floating character or whatever. Alright, so, and also you would notice that the X, Y, and Z is different directions in Unity than it is to Max. So I'm gonna make sure that my capsule is in the center. Let me put it closer to the ground. And then I'm gonna select the camera, and then I'm gonna move the camera to where I want it, so it's just going to be in front of the capsule, and I'm going to rotate, so that's E, so it's the same as Max. I'm going to rotate 90 degrees, that's in Y, so rotate 90 degrees, and then make sure the Z is centered to 0. Then W on the keyboard, I can bring it back. I don't want it to be in the model, I want it to be forward of the model, but otherwise you get interference. Or I can make the model see-through, but I'll leave it solid for now. Yeah. Alright, so the next step, what I want to do is, I want to, so I've placed my camera in front of this capsule. I want to drop the main camera into the capsule. So over in our sample scene here, I'm going to drag and drop. So I'm going to highlight the capsule and then drop it. So then it becomes like a child of the capsule. Yeah. So if I move the capsule now, the camera will move with it. Yeah. Okay. So that's the first thing we've done to set up. So if I press play now in the game mode to see our game mode. So I've got it out in the direction that we want to see, but I still can't move. So this is where the scripts come into play. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, with the capsule selected, I'm gonna select the character. So it has to be selected, and then you can see the inspector here. Now there's a bunch, you can add components, there's a bunch of stuff, you have to know what to type in, or actually you can just drop it down, just drop stuff down, go back and forth and stuff. But there's a bunch of stuff you can load in here. These are like deformer, think of these as like modifiers, yeah? But what I'm going to do is, with this script which I've created, I'm just going to drag and drop it in. So I've dropped the script in, yeah? The next thing I'm going to do is select the camera, and then I'm gonna drop the cam script in as well into the camera inspector. Yeah, so the character movement drop into the capsule, and the mouse look, so the cam move, drop into the camera. Okay, now when I press play now, now I can look around, and I can use the WSAD keys to go back and forth and whatnot. So, and the mouse to look around. Now, obviously, I can also mess around with the and actually, so you see what I said, when I'm looking down, I can see like there's some interference. That's from the capsule, but I can make the capsule in and the capsule also drops shadow, so you can see it there, but you can make that invisible as well. So let's press escape and then press the play key to come out of that scenario. With the capsule selected, you can tick mesh renderer, so you can untick that. So you can change a bunch of stuff. So I've unticked it, and then you can see see-through. When I press play now, hopefully you shouldn't see that issue. So whoops. So not only does it not drop shadow, you don't get any interference from the model anymore, because it's not renderable. Okay. Alright, so that is it for the main thing. Remember to always save the scene on a regular basis. Yeah. So we've gone over in this importing properly, creating folders, how to import and drop your textures and stuff in the right place, and make textures from the material and drop your material on. Note, if you have any other material, flat material, let's say like a wood or anything, actually, so let's just give that a try. So let's open up a new one and go wood, texture, actually. So let's go, what's this, Haven, texture Haven. So within Texture Haven, you get 3 textures. Let's see here. We want sorry. Just get the stone cobble one. I want to download the diffuse, and I'm gonna go with 2K JPEG. Show in folder. Let's go back to materials, and let's copy paste. So we've got the cobblestone in there now. Load. And I'm gonna make a new material, so we're gonna call this stone. With that selected, I'm gonna select the albedo, select cobblestone. You can close that, and then we can drag and drop this on. So we've got a stone. Now it's so stretched and whatnot that I'm sure that can be sorted out. Tiling, we have got tiling options, we've got offset. So we can change the tiling in here. Let's put that back to 3.5. Okay, so yeah, I need to familiarize myself with all of these because it should tile separately because they're not locked, but tiling emissions. Let's see. Okay, yeah, that's not changing. Okay, I'll sort out the tiling options and stuff for just dropping things on without actually having unwrapped anything. But you wouldn't need to use that as much. Yeah. Okay. So again, always file save scene, and that is the end of the tutorial. What I want to see from you guys is just the basic stuff. At least have one model in a scene with the correct sizing to a cube, with its texture on, and also with your character, your floating character, able to move around the scene. Yep. You might as well stick a floor in as well, so it's not so bait. Yep. Okay. So that's gonna be the end of the lesson, and I will speak to you guys in the chat.